Hi everyone, I recently had the question around how can I hide sections on a form based on who the person is or if they're part of a SharePoint group. Now, this is applying to Nintex Forms for Office 365. We don't have access to a user context in Nintex Workflow Cloud yet, but that is planned for a future release. So the first thing I think is important is to drag on a label and just get familiar with the different properties that are available to you. So what I mean by that is the context. So there's a couple of things here. You've got current user display name, current user email, and current user logged in name. So let's actually put those all out to the screen. So we'll say, let's call this current user display name and current user email, current user login ID, I think it is. So let's put that there. Context, email, and insert context, current user, login name. Now the next thing we want to do is there's some additional properties that may be useful, and we'll come across these a little bit later, but we might say item created by display name. And these are good if you're setting up your form and you're trying to debug something and something's not working. I often recommend just making sure that you're using a label to spit out the data, just so you can just second check the second check your rules and those sort of things. So this is what I usually do. So you might say current display name, current item created by email and login name. I think it is login ID, login ID. So yeah, what we're looking for is just data, so we can understand what's going on behind the scenes. So we go created item, display name, insert email, and login ID. And this will make more sense once you see what we're doing. And login ID. Okay, so they won't show up in preview for various reasons. So what we do is we go publish, and we'll come back and close that form I was working on before. Open that up again. Okay, so what's happening here is I've got my current user display name as Ewan, email address, and login ID. Now, email address and login ID is different because it's got the claims-based auth token at the start. Now, what you'll notice is the item created by display email and login ID are empty. That's because an item hasn't been created yet. So we're going to just put in hello world and create an item, and then we're going to reopen it and then see how that data has been populated. So we go and open up our item we just created before, and now all that data is coming back again. And what you'll notice is login ID doesn't actually have the claims here at the moment, but you would probably most likely compare against email or display name. So just keep in mind that the login ID of the item created by is slightly different syntax to the current user object. So thinking about that, and that's why it's important to display the data that you're trying to create logic around. Alright, so now the first question is, someone might say, well, I want to hide the title based on it's a specific person. So you come to rules and you'd say, okay, well, hide if it is Ewan. Okay, so you'd say, well, if the context current user email is equals, and I'm just going to come back here and cheat, and I'm going to copy my email address and put it there. Then I'm going to say the title. Let's do control fill because it's a bit more obvious. So I'm just going to change it like that. Else the title control fill is blank. Okay, create and publish. So what we're expecting is that what we're expecting is if the current user email is equal to that email address, which it is. So we expect that first field to be filled like a different color. There we go. So it's changed that color. Now, if I was to put something else like an email address that doesn't exist or doesn't match the current user email, so if I update that and publish, that color is not going to apply. So we come back to here, and when we reopen this, it hasn't been colored in. So that's the first way. So you're specifically checking for a hard-coded value. Now you could have multiple in here. You could actually have in the rule, you could have, if it's Jack, James, Joe, Lawton Fuzzins, whoever you want to do, you could have all these people sitting through there and checking if they are logged in. So you might have a group of people. Now, if you do have a group of people, maybe you have more than 5 people, it's just too hard to manage, or you don't want to be hard-coded in here. Your other option is to do something like this, which is the isMemberOfGroup function. So if I type in isMember, you'll see the isMemberOfGroup function, and that returns a boolean yes or no check. Now if you come to here, you can see the syntax is isMemberOfGroup, and it's very, very simple. It looks for people, you just literally put in the SharePoint group name into the parentheses. So if I say I've got a people or group called team site visitors, in fact, let's go team site owners because I'm in that group. So if I'm in that group, and I put it in here, so I put team site owners. What it's doing is checking for the current logged on user, the person's opened the form, if they're part of this group. If they're part of that group, it's going to return yes. If they're not part of that group, it's going to return no. So once we've got that, we then say, okay, well, is Ewan in this group? Is or current user in the group? Now, if it's true, yes, it's going to say I'm going to set the color of the field or hide the sections, whatever it might do. So let's go and update, and let's go to publish. Now, what we're expecting here is the title field to be filled in with a different color. Now that's happened because the current user, regardless of display name, email, login, it's the current user is actually in this group. Now if we go to visitors, you'll see that I'm not part of the team site visitors. So this might be like an admin area, whatever it might be. So I'm not part of the team site visitors. So then if I come back to here and I change this around, I go to rules and I say, let's come into here and we change it to team site visitors. And we go update and publish. Now I'm not part of that group. So now what we're expecting, this won't be filled in. So we refresh that form again. And there we go, so it hasn't been filled in. So you could apply that to different pieces of logic. You might say hide a section of a form or whatever it might be. So I've just done color in field, but hide a section, hide a group, hide whatever you want to do. Now, another thing you might want to do is, let's say I've created a form, and when I come back, I want to make certain fields non-editable to that person that created the item. Someone else, sure, they could edit those fields, but not the person that created it. We don't want them to change their leave form, for instance. So how would I go about doing that? So let's go back to here. We've got title, and we're going to say it's read only is no. So if we go to preview, it's always editable. That's fine. And we go to our rules, and what we're going to do is we're going to say if current user email is equal to item created by. So again, context, item created by email. Now, if those two are the same, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, you're not allowed to change the value of the title field. Read only is true, otherwise title, read only is false. Okay, so now why would you do this? Why would you say, well, if the current user is equal to the item created by? You'd only do that for that time when it's view or, well, actually edit mode. So let's go and have a look at that. So go ahead and publish. And we'll refresh our form. When I first open up the form, somehow, this is a previously created item. So I'm going to go close and we're going to create a new item. Okay, so I've got a field in here and I can type in hello world, and that's fine. The current user is here and the current user email is here. But what's happening is that this does not match this one here. So the rule is saying variables. So if the current user email equals created by email, and created by email is blank, so it's like, well, that rule's not going to fire. It's going to make the read only is no. Now, once I go and put in hello world and I press submit, it keeps the data. And remember, when we open this up again, those extra 3 fields are now set. Now we can see here that item created by email, now is being set because the item has been created. Previously there was no item created. So now what it's doing is checking, is current user email the same as item created by email. So they're two different context properties, and what that's doing is stopping me from editing that field. So I hope that's helpful too, that there's three different ways of restricting or changing or manipulating a form based on the current user object. One is, what did we do? We did, let's go back to the rule. We did a hard-coded value. So we're like, if the current user is equal to this hard-coded value. The second option was, is the current user part of this SharePoint group? Or the third one was really around edit mode. So is the current user email or whatever property you use equal to the item created by? So there are three different ways of sort of manipulating a form based on the current user object property. So hopefully you find that useful. Certainly let me know in the comments if you like the video or like to see something else. Cheers.